Okay, so it means the best choice is if we choose our tradition, choose our religion, choose our way of meditation and sadhana, what we, how we call it in Sanskrit. But at the same time, let us, better, at least that's my advice, to respect your family tradition, because you have to remember that this is huge source of life force. And if you deny that, it means you deny possibility for you to receive huge power. It's like if somebody may come, yeah, okay.
What if there is no special family tradition, like you mentioned in the religion, in ne znam, art, poetry, or whatever? What if tradition is nothing special?
Can you specify your question? What do you mean? Which kind of tradition, and what do you mean not special one?
What if our forefathers wasn't religious and wasn't so deep in any life question or spiritual question?
Okay, yeah. Many people ask this question. You see, when we speak about karma, I mentioned about, okay, like 2 basic steps, like 7 lifetimes and then 49. And when we speak about our genetic programming, divine, I created a new nice, like, divine genetic programming. The same 2 huge steps. The first is the 7 generations, and another one is the 49 generations. Just in a few minutes, we'll just practice certain kind of meditation. That's going to be next video, actually. But and in that meditation, we'll work first of all with your parents, then with the 7 generations, then absolutely crazy idea, 49 generations. And that's not the end, because we'll go even to the Adam and Eve, and then to the Lord God. But if by the way, quite many Westerners, they say, what if my family tradition is not religious too much? Not many religious parents, grandparents. You see, we're speaking not about just your parents, but we're speaking at least about 7 generations. And if you take 7 generations, all that people practiced just as the part of culture, a lot of things. For example, we take 20th century. In some part of the European countries it was communism, not religion. But secretly, still people, even in Russia, visited churches. Even in Russia, even in communist time, a few churches was in Moscow and Petersburg. But in the Western world, another extreme, like democracy, which sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes lead people to absolutely materialistic approach to life, and people just stopped to go to the churches. Like when I traveled to Germany, I spent really not only years and years in India, but also in Germany. What's happening in Germany? Most of the Germans, they're visiting church just for the Christmas. Most of them, they say, okay, we're Christians, like Catholic Christians, Protestant Christians, but they're not the members of the Christian communities. They're not praying. They're not really pay attention to the Christian Bible. So just once in a year. It's not religion, actually. It's not spirituality. Well, you know what's happened? We're speaking about at least 7 generations. And in that time, people, really were involved in all that processes of, Holy Communion. If we'll speak about Christian tradition, okay? They practiced a lot of prayers. They visited church on a regular basis. we can take any family, like Jewish and a Muslim, the same story. You know, I have like Jewish friends, and they say, well, okay, communist time in Russia, Judaism was not so introduced, and many Jewish people in USSR time, they never been in synagogue, for example. But at the same time, if you take like 7 generations, you know, for sure it was strongly there. That's what I mean. And when we speak about, that's the next step of our logic actually. If we speak about, okay, 49 generations, for most of the people even difficult to imagine what does mean 49 generations, how, okay, kind of fantasy. But if we'll speak about 49 generations, then actually your ancestors, if you just think, imagine 49 generations, just whole humanity. You know, if you just think about 49 generations, it means, I don't know, you know, Jesus the Christ, Krishna and the Buddha, your ancestors. You know, all great mystics of ancient Egypt are your ancestors. You know, all saints from Greece, your ancestors. You know, all Kabbalah mystics, all Sufi mystics, they're all your ancestors. That's the point. You know, when we speak about ancestors, let me see maybe 2 or 3 main mistakes people have. Like the first of all, when we speak about ancestors, most of the Western people, Westerners, they think about something bad. It's like limitations, traditions. We don't like it. You know, we want freedom. We want, you know, to express ourselves. We don't need all that.
Yes.
It means first mistake, which many people in the West really have, is that they suppose that ancestors and tradition of the ancestors is a kind of limitation, or even some kind of curse, some black magic, I don't know. That's a huge mistake, because first of all it is spiritual gift from the people of past generations. Now that's first. And a second mistake, which also pretty huge, is that people think that, okay, my family tradition is something like my father and mother, and then grandfather and grandmother from both sides. But really we're speaking at least about 7 generations. You know, if you take any, like in Russia we have so many saints, so many great writers, scientists. When I think about 7 generations, immediately I may easily say that, okay, this saint, that saint, this mystic, all of them my ancestors. If I start to think in such a way like, okay, 15 generations, 16, 12 generations, then Leo Tolstoy, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Nicholas Roerich, Madame Blavatsky, Serafimov Sarov, Sergius of Radonezh, all saints and mystics, Tchaikovsky, okay, all of them my ancestors. Just if I approach it in a real way. So that's the huge question. And to deny ancestors and the programs and the spiritual treasure, it's like if somebody may come to you and say, okay, I'm ready to invest into your project, let us say, I don't know, billion of euros, and you say, no, I don't need it. That's your choice. Maybe you don't need it, but somebody is ready to invest or maybe even just give it to you as a gift. You say, no, I don't need it. That's how it's happened. That's the reason why it is nice to practice any kind of meditation, any kind of spiritual tradition from India, Tibet, or modern like New Age tradition. But pay attention to your family tradition. And of course, when we think about our ancestors, like for 7, 10, 12, 16 generations, we're not sure who are that people. Some of them were saints and a very good and kind people, and some of them, who knows, maybe evil guys. Maybe some of them killed neighbor.
But probably most of them like it to drink alcohol. It is for sure.
Not for sure. Not for sure. When I take my family, I mean, not at all. Yeah. I mean, only the relative whom I know who was a little bit over drinking was my uncle. He passed away already. He lived in Petersburg. But even that uncle, he was engineer and working for the huge factory, working under some military projects. He was a very clever guy, but sometimes he could overdrink. But all the rest, not at all. I mean, and in my family, from mother's side, most of the ancestors, they are priests of the Orthodox Church, and one of them even saint. From the father's side, they more connected with the trade. But the truth is that I don't know.
Okay, you are a lucky guy, but what with people who can't be proud with their ancestors?
You see, the point is that you never know really about even your father and mother. You never know, even if you have sister and a brother, really speaking, you even can't be sure about inner world. The point is that we never know about our relatives. What kind of feelings, thoughts, motivation, all that things. People may appear as, I'm a good citizen, but maybe that person is a real embodiment of evil. But some other person can, drink wine, that he can be very nice and a good person. I mean, it's more subtle than this.
Yes,
but
true.
Let me repeat, but we are speaking about at least 7 generations. It means you never know who are that people. And the point is that, we may suppose that some of them were kind, good people, and some of them may be bad guys. And that's together inside you, inside your blood, inside your, each part of your physical body. And it's producing certain vibrations.